Good morning, everyone. This is Adam Horton, and welcome to the next video in my video tutorial series on the card game Dominion. Now, you'll notice this looks slightly different than the other videos. That's because we are on the home page for the online implementation of Dominion. It's called Isotropic, and I will include links to tons of relevant stuff in the description for this video, so be sure to check that out. When you go to Isotropic's main site, you're going to see this page. You can log in. So I'm going to log in using my Google stuff. And then you're going to be given this screen once you've logged in. You can choose a nickname. And then there's this lobby. Now there are 3 lobbies, and I'm going to talk about 2 of them since Tournament and Secret Chamber are pretty similar. Great Hall is the place where all the cool kids hang out. Now this is what the lobby looks like. You can see all the people that are currently in the lobby, and it goes on for a while. If you want to just play a random game of Dominion and you don't care who you're playing with, there's pretty much always people here that are willing to play a game with you. You can use the auto match feature in order to be paired with someone. You don't have to go out there and be social or anything. All you got to do is check one of these boxes, 2, 3, or 4 players. You can even check them all if you don't even care how many players you're going to play with. Once you check the box that says 2 players, then auto match will try and find a match for you. It'll give you a prompt. It'll tell you, do you want to begin this game? And you can click yes or no. Now, you can sort of filter who your opponents are. If you get ranked and you only want to play people that are close to your rank, well, then you can tweak this option. Veto mode is a different method of selecting your kingdom cards beyond pure random. Some people like it. Some people don't. Some people don't care. Maybe you're one of them. Point tracker is a variant. It's the way to get the computer to count how many points each person has during the course of the game, so you don't have to remember who's bought how many green cards. Now, it is a variant. It's not part of the original rules of the game. Some people like it. Some people don't. Some people don't care. Sound familiar? You can also bias your selection towards certain expansions if you like them more. Okay. So that's auto match. There's also a way that you can propose a game with a particular person. You can say, oh, well, they look like a cool guy. I want to propose a game with them. So J.S. Bach. He's a cool guy. So we'll check the box, and then you can click the Propose Game With button to propose a game specifically with him. You can put these constraints on games you propose. You can add veto mode. You can do point tracker. Identical starting hands ensures that you'll get the same opening split. Remember those first 2 turns I talked about. Well, if you get a different split than your opponent, sometimes people feel like that's an unfair advantage on certain boards, and maybe it is, so you can force that not to happen. You can also require cards to be in the kingdom, or require cards not to be in the kingdom. But if you use this field, if you're playing a rated game, it's not going to count for your rating, just in case you care. So, that's the Great Hall lobby, and that's how auto match works. You can change lobbies by going up here and selecting a different lobby. So we'll go into the Secret Chamber lobby and see what that's like. You'll notice there are not nearly as many people in this lobby. This is where you want to go to meet up with friends. Let's say you've got a friend in real life. Now, I wouldn't know what that's like, but maybe you do. Well, you'd come into this lobby, and then once you find them in here, the auto match feature is disabled, so you have to check their box and propose the game with them. This is pretty convenient for finding people since not everyone and their dog is in here. Once you get into a game, you're going to see a screen that looks something like this. So we're going to go through and point out what all the things on this screen are. First thing you'll notice is your hand. These images represent the cards that are in your hand. Right now I've got a 3, and then next turn I'm going to have a 4. Over here is the kingdom and the supply piles. This column here represents those 7 cards we see in every game. Province, Duchy, Estate, Gold, Silver, Copper, and the curses. There's a little picture for each card that helps remind you of what it is. If the pictures offend you, by the way, you can click on this text button and get a completely different view of the game. Still all the same information, you can still do all the same stuff, but I like the pictures. So the picture shows you a nice representation of what it does. The number here tells you what the card costs. The number in parentheses tells you how many of those cards are left in the supply. And then there can be extra little icons here. This yellow $sign is the trade route token that I was talking about in the previous video. Also, if you hover your mouse over any part of the card, it pops up a little window telling you all the information about the card you could ever want to know. The province costs $8, it's a victory card, gives you 6 VP. Good times. Down here you can do the same thing with the gold. It's a treasure, costs 6, gives you $3. Nice work. So, if there's a kingdom card you're not familiar with, all you got to do is hover over it, and you'll know what it does. And you can do the same thing with the cards in your hand. So, what else is here? Well, we've got the 10 kingdom cards that are over here, and they've got the names and any of the appropriate bits that are on them. You'll notice they're appropriately colored. The kingdom victory cards are green, the duration cards are orange, blue for reactions, yellow for treasures, and gray for actions. If any of these cards were attack cards, you'd notice a little red dot that's next to them to make them stick out. It's just a nice way that you can find them easier. Now, let's take a look over here. Here's a graphic that shows your draw pile. Each line represents a card in your draw pile. There's a discard pile graphic that gives you a rough idea of how many cards. That's because technically you're not allowed to count your discard pile at any point in time. You could pixel count if you really wanted to, but I'm sure you have better things to do with your life, right? Anyway, these counters here, actions, buys, and to spend, these will be updated at all times throughout the course of your turn. This is a nice convenient little way that you can keep track of what you have left. How many actions do I have left? Oh, I can read numbers. That's easy. If you want to play a card in your hand, all you have to do is click on it. So if it's an action card, you click on it. If it's a treasure card, you click on it. Let me show you an example. I'll click on the copper, and I play it. I can play all my coppers this way. And you'll notice this handy little text log keeps track of everything that's happened over the course of the game. So if you have to look away for a moment and your opponent does something, well, it's not lost forever. You don't have to ask him what he did. All you got to do is take a look at the text log, and this will go back several turns. So that's pretty nice to follow on with what's going on. And the text log is very descriptive. It gives you all the pieces of information that you're allowed to know. So, once we've played all of our treasures, you'll notice that some of the cards in here got the little blue plus sign. If you're able to gain or buy a card, the blue plus sign will appear. So let's go ahead and buy a silver. That was my turn. Didn't have to do any of that cleanup stuff. The computer does it all for me. So, you might get a little tired of clicking on all your treasures individually. So there's this handy little button that plays all your treasures for you. One click. There they are. Wow, this is easy. Computers are great. Let's get a smithy. All right, so let's say I wanted to know more about what's going on. Well, let's make an interesting situation. Here's an action card. I'll click on it to play it. Normally would have had to shuffle in the middle of my turn, but golly gee, Isotropic did that for me. Trade route, let's trash an estate, and we'll buy some stuff. So, this info button here will tell you all sorts of useful stuff about what's going on. It tells you the contents of the trash pile, tells you how much the trade routes are worth, which is a part of the card. It tells you how many cards are in your draw pile, what's in your hand, play area, discard, and the number of VP tokens you've got. This will tell you all of the information you're allowed to know for you and your opponents, and it will add additional stuff depending on what kingdom cards require you to know additional stuff. So if you have a question about what's going on and the text log doesn't tell you, click on the info button, and then you'll have your answer. So we'll go through playing some cards. Oh, did I have a merchant ship in play last turn? Not only does it tell me here, but I can look in the info window and say, oh, hey, look, there's a merchant ship. Good stuff, huh? So we can go through doing stuff. Man, this is fun. Now you'll notice the trade route gave me an additional buy. If I bought something with one buy and I didn't want to buy something with the other buy, I can use this end turn button. In fact, you can click on the end turn button to end your turn whenever you want. if isotropic feels like it might be a misclick, it'll give you this red question mark, and it'll bold the text for you. Now you can click it again, and you can really end your turn. Also, you'll notice if you end your turn at the beginning of a turn, this resign button will appear. If you feel like you're failing at life, well, here's a way out. Also, there's this handy little chat window in the bottom. You can say hello to your opponent. They can say hello back. You can be sportsmanlike. You can even swear at each other, although I guess I can't say I'd recommend that. So let's just go through this game for a while, and we're going to just mindlessly buy stuff until we're done. But check out how fast this is going. I mean, if we were playing this game in real life, I'd have to be shuffling and drawing and do all sorts of stuff. But I've already played 18 turns, and this hasn't really taken me very long. You can really blaze through a lot of games really quickly on Isotropic. Now, usually, hopefully, the games are going to require a little more thought, so it's more interesting than just click, click, click. But with very few clicks and very little work on your part or your opponent's part, you can play a game of Dominion really, really quickly. And that's why people like Isotropic. You don't have to get the cards out and put them away. You don't have to shuffle or draw or think about how many actions you have left. The computer does it for you. And if you don't have any friends like me, you don't need friends. You can just go online and play with whoever you want. So, a lot of the videos I'm going to do will be on Isotropic, just so we don't have to get bogged down in the details of, oh, well, I've got to shuffle my deck now. Let's wait for 10 seconds while you watch me. No. Now, I'm going to do some videos in real life, and I'm going to do some videos on ISO. You may have some questions about Isotropic. There's an FAQ link down here, and I'll link to some resources on Isotropic. If there's something you don't know what's going on, the FAQ definitely addresses it. It's very thorough. Well, that's it for this video. Hopefully you can get on Isotropic and play a game of Dominion, even if you don't have a physical copy of the game. So it makes it very accessible to everyone. Thanks for watching.